Welcome! Today we're diving into the art of making homemade croissants. Get ready for layers of buttery goodness and a wonderfully flaky texture. Let's get started. Alright, let's gather our ingredients for the croissants. For the dough, you'll need 4 cups of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt, 1 1/4 cups of warm milk, and 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. For the butter layer, get 1 cup of cold unsalted butter. And finally, you'll need 1 beaten egg for the egg wash. Alright, let's prepare the dough for our croissants. First, grab a large mixing bowl. We're going to combine our dry ingredients: 4 cups of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Next, we'll add the wet ingredients: 1 1/4 cups of warm milk and 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. Pour these into the bowl with the dry ingredients. Now mix everything together until a shaggy dough forms. It might look a bit messy, but that's okay. Transfer the dough to a lightly floured surface and knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. You want the dough to be smooth and elastic. If it feels sticky, sprinkle a little more flour. Once the dough is ready, shape it into a ball. Place the dough ball into a lightly greased bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and let it rise in a warm place for 1 to 2 hours, or until it's doubled in size. Great job! Let's move on to the next step after our dough has risen. While our dough is rising, let's prepare the butter layer for our croissants. Take 1 cup of cold, unsalted butter and cut it into slices. Place these butter slices on a piece of parchment paper. Cover the butter with another piece of parchment paper. Now, using a rolling pin, gently pound and roll the butter until it forms a 7-inch square. Make sure the butter is of even thickness. This step is crucial for creating those flaky layers in our croissants. Once you have a nice, even square of butter, place it in the refrigerator to chill. We want the butter to be firm but still pliable when we incorporate it into the dough later. Now that our dough has risen, it's time to incorporate the butter. First, punch down the dough to release the air. Then roll it out on a lightly floured surface into a 10-inch square. Next, take the chilled butter layer from the refrigerator and place it diagonally on the dough, so it looks like a diamond within a square. Now fold the corners of the dough over the butter, encasing it completely. Make sure to pinch the seams together to seal it tightly. This will ensure the butter stays inside as we roll and fold the dough. Now, let's laminate the dough to create those flaky layers in our croissants. First, roll the dough out into a 20x 10-inch rectangle. Remember to work quickly to keep the butter from melting. Once you have your rectangle, fold the dough into thirds, like a business letter. This is called a turn. Next, rotate the dough 90 degrees so the folded edge is on your left. Roll it out again into a 20x 10-inch rectangle. Fold the dough into thirds again. This is your second turn. Now wrap the dough in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes. This will allow the butter to firm up again before we continue the process. Now that our dough is chilled, let's repeat the rolling and folding process to complete the lamination. Take the dough out of the refrigerator and roll it out again into a 20x 10-inch rectangle. Fold it into thirds, just like we did before. This is our third turn. Rotate the dough 90 degrees, roll it out into another 20x 10-inch rectangle, and fold it into thirds again. This makes our fourth and final turn. Wrap the dough in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes. This chilling step is important to keep the butter firm and the layers distinct. Now that our dough has chilled, it's time to shape the croissants. First, roll the dough out into a large rectangle about a 1/4 inch thick. Next, cut the dough into triangles, approximately 5 inches wide at the base and 8 inches tall. Make a small slit at the base of each triangle. This will help with rolling. Starting from the base, roll each triangle up tightly towards the tip to form the classic croissant shape. Place the shaped croissants on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Cover them with a kitchen towel and let them rise for 1 to 2 hours or until they look puffy. Alright, now it's time to bake our croissants. First, preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius. Next, gently brush the risen croissants with the beaten egg. This will give them a beautiful glossy finish as they bake. Now place the croissants in the preheated oven. Bake them for 15 to 20 minutes, or until they are golden brown and crispy. Keep an eye on them towards the end to make sure they don't overbrown. Once they're done, remove them from the oven and let them cool slightly on a wire rack. Voila! Your homemade croissants are ready to enjoy. Bon appétit! And lastly, here are some tips to ensure your croissants turn out perfect. First, make sure your butter is cold but still pliable when incorporating it into the dough. This is crucial for creating those flaky layers. Second, work quickly during the rolling and folding process to prevent the butter from melting. Keeping everything cool helps maintain those distinct layers. If at any point the dough becomes too soft or the butter starts to melt, don't hesitate to chill it in the refrigerator before continuing. This will help you achieve the best results. Lastly, be gentle when rolling out the dough to avoid tearing it and exposing the butter. This preserves the integrity of the layers. Now enjoy your homemade croissants. They'll be flaky, buttery, and absolutely delicious.